All right. All right. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for coming to the Book Club at Empires. We really appreciate you taking the time. I don't choose the books for this. What we do is every time we have one of these, everyone who attends gets to nominate one. And then we all vote to see what we want to read. And it was Danielle, right there above you, who nominated The Pro. And tell them why you nominated.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't know much about it, and I think Michael was talking a lot about your work, and I think he just brought it up briefly, and he brought up a sex worker superhero, and I was immediately sold. So I looked it up, and I was like, we definitely have to read this one. So I was hoping everyone else was on board, and they were. So it was fantastic timing.
Good. Well, good. That was. It's good timing because we're going to do a new Pro book coming soon. But what'd you think of it?
I loved it. I thought it was hilarious, and I'm into, like, I guess the raunchier, like, darker stuff already. I was telling Ben earlier before you got on, her conflict resolution, spot on. I would definitely handle things the same way, especially if I had superpowers. So just a no shit attitude. I loved it.
Well, I can tell you how it originally came about. The book was it was me, Amanda Kana, and Garth Ennis, and we were also with John McCrae. We were doing a signing in Essen, Germany, and at night we of course found a bar. We thought it was an Irish bar. We thought it was Fitzpatrick's. Later we found out it was actually called Fritz Patrick's, but that's a whole nother story. And we were in the bar just drinking, and we did a whole day at the show. We were drinking and laughing, and we started talking about the superheroes that haven't been done yet, and we talked about a superhero hooker. And I love that you call it sex work. I know I have to move up. My brain is still stuck in when we did the book in 2001. But anyway, we talked about that, and as we were talking, we were laughing, saying the things that she would do, and Amanda started drawing on napkins in the bar, like what the superhero would look like, the Pro. And and Amanda said, of course, her outfit wouldn't fit right, and she wouldn't want to be a superhero. That wouldn't be her initial thing. She'd want to somehow figure out how to make more money in her profession with the powers. And it just came that we kept talking and talking, and when we got back home, we're like, maybe we should do this. And Garth just whipped out a script again of everything we were all talking about. And Amanda and I started doing the artwork on it. And when we were all done, we went to find a publisher. And DC was not interested, as you would have guessed. I think almost everybody turned it down. I think Top Shelf was the closest to doing it, except at the time they wanted us to change the title. They didn't like the title The Pro. They didn't like it. And we said we're not going to change it. So that's the way we see it. So we wound up, we showed it to Eric at Image, and Eric flipped through it and he laughed and he said, oh yeah, we want this. And so that's how the origin of The Pro. And we premiered it at San Diego. It came out of San Diego in 2001. And we had a special edition for the con. I don't know how's the language thing on this show. Are we okay to kind of be a little adult?
Okay. Yeah,
I hope so.
Okay. Well, anyway, we did a special edition of the book, and it was called the San Diego Comic-Con Cheaper Than a Hand Job Special Edition of The Pro. And we put it out just for the show. And when that was right before it came out officially. And because of something Jim Stranko heard, he started bad-mouthing the book. He didn't know what the book was about, but he misinterpreted what the book was about, and he started bad-mouthing it. And it made the news that we're doing this book, and they were aligning us with terrorism for some reason. And all I know is we got a call from the Village Voice saying, would you like to comment about what Jim Stranko said? And I said, yes, I would. I'd like to say that I'm a huge fan of Jim Stranko, and I love his comics. That was it. So obviously they didn't want that from me, but it made a lot of noise for us, and the book came out, and we've been. I think somebody called it the Filthy Watchman. It's in its like 8th printing, And right now you can order it from Image. Retailers can order it anytime. We make sure there's like thousands of them there so they can keep ordering them. And yeah, so it was one of those, it was before the boys, right? So it was Garth before the boys. And you can see the origin of the boys in this book. If you think about it, you know, he like years later, he went and created the boys. And we always laugh like the Pro is like one member they haven't covered yet in the comic. But yeah, so that's a little backstory on that.
So you mentioned the terrorist thing. Did you ever find out how that was linked?
Because I said in an interview, we terrorize comics. And he took it out of context, like we were like terrorized, like terrorists. I don't know, you know, whatever, however Jim heard it, he took it the wrong way. And I love Jim. So it was just like, it was anyway, it was a miscommunication. I wasn't going to attack him for it, but if you notice the last page of the book, we dedicated to Jim. That was our little, you know, to him. So it has an extra joke in it when you get to the last page of the book that is dedicated to Jim.
Well, is the sequel a new character? Because I got the impression she was dead at the
Have you ever read comic books before?
I was gonna say, tough ass bitch can't die. Heck no.
So, so we did this 6-page story, and then of course Amanda did the cover for the. It's for the Image Comics, the 30th anniversary book. I think it's solicited now, right, for September. And we explain it takes place in present day, so it literally is 20 years later. And something happens where she, let's just say somehow she comes back, and she has to deal with everything that's going to happen that happened since then in the world, including the bastard, her baby growing up. So it's a yeah. What's that?
She's just a deadbeat mom.
Well,
She just took off.
No, she didn't take off. She if you remember the end of the book, a nuke explodes with her in the middle of it.
Yeah,
And
she has the terrorist arms, and she's
Yes.
going up into space, and she says, "Don't let my kid become one of you dicks," or something like
right,
that.
and that comes back to haunt the guys later on in the
no,
sequel.
he became a pretentious superhero.
All I'm saying is that we have
I'm
some
so
fun.
excited.
We have some fun with it, but so we're doing, so the 6-pager is like a little prequel of what we're going to be doing next year. You know, so it's a little teaser. And Image Comics for the 30th anniversary, they said we need something the pro, and you know, Garth, we approached Garth, and Garth said, you know, I think I said everything I needed to say with the book, so why don't you and Amanda do it? It'll be just as crazy anyway. So we took that as getting his blessing, which it was, and we decided, all right, we could do it. And yeah, so that's what's going on.
Well, it'll be nice to see her doing interiors again, because she doesn't do them much anymore. She usually does a lot of covers, nice covers.
Well, she did do 120 pages of the Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, the Black Label book. That was the last one she did. Yeah, so that was like that was a good year's worth of work for her. And you know, Amanda's not like super fast, but she's definitely, you know, she's a very detail-oriented kind of artist. She's what do we call this? Like, they call it the chicken fat. The stuff in the background tells just as much story as the stuff in the foreground. She really knows. So she doesn't take on a bunch of stuff. I mean, she's doing a strip for this company Zest World, which is like it's like a digital strip. She's doing like a vertical reading comic called it's Kate. Well, it's two characters, K Boom and Booty Pow Pow, and it's about this girl that owns a donut shop in Albuquerque, and she meets an eternal woman. So it's about these two women trying to navigate the world. It's kind of fun, and it's slowly coming out, but she's getting back into doing some more, a lot more interiors these days. And, you know, it was tough. Even working for DC, doing that last book was really tough for us, because we were promised that we could do anything we want with the Black Label series. And then they started censoring us in the book. And she was like, I think I have to do my own comics from now on, because it just, the companies say one thing and, you know, there's nothing more like soul crushing when, you know, you think you can do anything you want, then they tell you, well, you can't do that. You have to change that. You can't do that. And we were like, why? You know, I think Black Label was kind of destroyed once Batman's penis showed up, but that had nothing to do with us. The Batawang, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
They were definitely making sure that they were covering everything. So okay, so I have a couple questions if you have a minute. In the beginning, when you were talking about you guys doing all of this, it sounded like it was between the three of you, there was a lot of creativity going on with all of you to create this book.
Yeah, we were. I mean, there was, you know, there was a, you know, so Garth's like an idea guy, and I'm an idea person, and Amanda's an idea person. So the three of us sitting there, and even with John McCrae, you know, we just, humor-wise, we keep trying to top each other. And when you do that, you start getting to crazy places. I mean, there are a couple of scenes in that book that I don't think you've ever seen in a comic book before. That I know Wally Wood from Beyond the Grave was going, yeah, you know, but it was, whatever Garth did, Amanda took it further. So, you know, it was one of those things where, you know, we just didn't care at that point. We're just going to tell the story we want. And we're all adults. And I gotta, you know, look, I love superheroes, but at the end of the day, my brain is, I'm an adult. So I like stuff unleashed. I don't want to be able to, you know, I get if you're doing a YA thing or you're doing a mainstream heroes, great. I think there's a billion comics now that have that in it. But I think what we were always looking for is to do something that would match our sense of humor and our sensibilities. And the Pro was just an example of like, well, okay, this is us just having fun and telling a story and poking fun at a lot of things. And yeah, Amanda gets to draw some crazy stuff in it, you know, and at the end of the day, we just thought it was fun. And there's a little, you know, there's a lot of heart to that story, you know. On the surface, it's crazy, but there's a lot of heart to that story. And, you know, I think it resonates with a lot of people, surprisingly. So.
Yeah, it's not dated. I just reread it again today, and there's nothing dated about it. It's still fresh and funny and hilarious. Every page is still just great. Just great stuff. Still.
Yeah, I think good comics are like that. You know, there's nothing that turns me off more when like comics acknowledge pop culture, because it dates the material right away. And so I think you have to be careful. And even what we're doing with the new stuff is like because we're doing 20 years later, we actually have to grab onto pop culture in some way. But there's a way to do it where it doesn't feel old and dated. There's definitely a way to do it, you know. You know, and we've learned over the years. Look, Amanda and I worked on Harley for 5 years, and we did 100 and something, 25 books or whatever. And it was like state of mind. We just kept telling crazy stories and doing it so much and so fast. When we finally stopped, we actually looked back and said, oh my God, we did a lot of work, you know, and a lot of it still, we look back and it still stands up, and it doesn't feel old. And I think that's always been the beauty of Amanda's work, is it doesn't feel dated. You know, you don't feel like you're looking at art that's, you know, you can look at the Power Girl series we did and it still looks fresh on some level. And I think that's the charm of her art.
Nice.
Yeah.
Then the next question I had is, I haven't seen anything in a while, and I know the pandemic hit and things were crazy, but the Pro was picked up by Paramount in like 2017 or 18, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was picked up by Spike TV. It was picked up by Paramount. It was picked up by Universal, I think, at one point. Like everything else, we got a development deal. They want to make it. And then let's see, one time we did an animation thing, which is on YouTube, that we did a sample. But every time we've got close to making it, somebody chickened out up at the studio. Somebody said, what the hell are we doing? And, you know, I think right now we're going out and shopping the property as an animated series, like an adult animated series. So I think we'll have a little better chance now with the boys being a hit and Invincible and adult animation. I think we might have a better chance. That said, it's never been our priority. Like all the movie and TV stuff is great, but if you really understand the nature of it, you know, for us, it's like everything lives and dies by the comic book. So that's all great, but I refuse to make comics to try to sell a film. I feel like the comic has to be the best comic you can do, and then it's up to other guys to mess with the property afterwards, you know.
Well, the studios are really good at that. They're always rewriting things, reinventing the wheel, and censoring things. So I can't even imagine the Pro would survive in a translation to screen.
You know, you never know. I mean, it's funny because I wrote a book called Random Acts of Violence with Justin Gray, and it came out as a movie during COVID. It came out. It played in drive-ins, which was really something. But it came out and it was different than the comic. And people were asking me, "Is it upset you that it's different?" And I just said, "No. At the end of the day, you can still go out and buy my comic. So I don't really. The movie's a separate thing. It's okay. You know." You're never going to make anybody 100% happy. And when you hand it over to a director, you're handing it over to like 150 people. You're not handing it over just to the director and just that. It's like mass amount of people. And they all have something to say and they all want to make it their own. So they start changing things. And, you know, sometimes it works, like the movies that work, and sometimes it doesn't, like something like Jonah Hex, where you think would be the easiest thing in the world to make. And then all of a sudden they got to give him superpowers, and it's like a bucket of, you know, it was terrible. And, you know, they had the blueprint right there. They had the comics right there, and they had to go and do something, you know, to make it cooler. So, you know, at the end of the day, you can't really worry about it. I tend to, whenever we do a development deal or we make some money, both Amanda and I put it back into making more comics. That's what we always do. We roll over our money. And like most creators, we have to own a percentage of the characters we do. So we are investing a lot of time in doing stuff that we own. It makes more sense. I think the Marvel and DC days are kind of done, except for a little thing here and there. You know, we did a Harley Quinn anniversary, 30th anniversary. We did a short story in that with Harley and Alfred. But it doesn't really make any sense working at Marvel and DC anymore, to be honest with you. Especially after seeing so much of what I've done turned into movies and TV and getting just a thank you at the end. It's kind of heartbreaking to watch that. So as a creator, you realize you have to start creating your own stuff. It's the only way to survive. And it's the only way that one day hopefully I can retire off that, because I can't retire from mainstream comics, that's for sure. You know?
That is fair.
Yeah.
Well, good. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody else?
Well, just when's the sequel coming out? Just sometime next year? Is there? Do you have a?
I'm gonna say sometime next year. Yeah, 2023. And yeah, and it's gonna be Amanda and I gonna do. I'm gonna try to do the coloring on it too. So I'm looking forward to experimenting. I need to. You know, I've always try to do like a different job. So I've been learning on Procreate how to color. If you've never used it, it's like the coolest program. If an idiot like me can figure it out, anybody can figure it out. So, you know, any question, Michael and Danielle, sorry, Danielle, any other questions? Michael's been very quiet, Michael.
Yeah. So I guess other than, I'm assuming you enjoy working with Amanda, but other than her, who would what other artists have you really enjoyed, or even writers that you've really enjoyed working with? And then maybe somebody who you'd never work with again.
Well, there's a bunch of people. There's a bunch of people I wouldn't work with again. It doesn't mean I don't like. It doesn't mean I don't like them. It just means that I have my background before comics was advertising, so I'm a very deadline-oriented person. So I don't work with people who kind of disappear in the middle of a project, or, you know, and a lot of people do, unfortunately. That's why, you know, when people come in a comic shop and says, why isn't there more books from this person or that person? There's usually a reason for that. Who I like to work with, I like to work with anybody that is passionate about what they're doing. Lately, you know, of course, Amanda, she's my wife, so of course we love to work together. But I love working with Moritat. He's the artist on the Red Sonja books that we've been doing for Dynamite. We did a series on that's, I think the last issue comes out next month. And I love working with him. There's a Juan Santa Cruz, who's a great artist I work with. Guys like Phil Noto and, you know, Dave Johnson. Anytime I can get Dave Johnson or Dan Panosian on a cover or to do anything on a book, I feel like I won the lottery, you know. And Joe Linsner is another guy I love working with. I think he's the sweetest guy and he's a brilliant painter. He's done a lot of work for me. I have a huge list. I mean, when I did Jonah Hex, I loved working with Jordi Brunet. You know, I fell in love with his torpedo strip, European torpedo strip, and then tracked him down to do that. But I love guys like Riso, and I'm looking around my room because I have a lot of artwork. There's just a lot of people. But you know, not working with certain people. Yeah, there's a couple I'd rather not. They you know, you just it's sort of like saying, you know, what don't you order on the menu? You know, it's like, you know, I kind of focus on what I like on the menu and not talk about the stuff I don't, you know. I know it's dirt. We all love dirt, you know, I can tell you, you know.
Well, I've always wondered about Frank Quitely, because talk about a guy who disappears. I've always figured there was some backstory that nobody ever talks about.
He's such a sweet guy. I mean, I love hanging out with Frank. He's great. I don't know. I kind of think he has some other job or some other life or something, because I don't know how he did the work he did and then disappears for a couple of years. I don't know what the secret is. I do see him at a show once in a while, and we'll hang out and have drinks. And we tend not to talk about comic books too much when we're all out, like after hours. We tend to talk about regular life stuff, and you know, maybe sometimes we talk about a terrible editor or how the companies are screwing us over. You know, we talk about that a lot because there's not much transparency in these companies, so we have to kind of bitch to somebody. But he is definitely, he's a great guy. I mean, he's a guy, you know, no matter what he does, you got to buy it. You know, he's one of those artists. And I agree with you. I think he owes me a cover. I have his original Jonah Hex cover for Jonah Hex 1 on my wall. You know, I have the original. Yeah. I bought it from his art agent, and then I bitched at him that I paid so much. But you know.
That's one of my favorite. I have 3 copies of that just because I love the cover so much.
Yeah,
Wow.
It's beautiful. And it's actually, he drew it the same size as the comic. So it's
really?
Yeah, it's a really detailed watercolor. Like he just did it with watercolor, and it was so tiny. When I bought it, I thought it was going to be this big piece of art, and I got it in the mail and it was like this big, and I was like, that's a lot of money I spent per square inch on that, but it's beautiful. You know. Yeah, so hey, tell me about the shop a little bit, because I'm looking at it. Do you have original art on the back wall there?
Walking tour.
Yeah, here, I'll show you real quick.
All right.
Because I've got my iPad. So again, we're here in Sacramento, California, and let me just make this big so I can see what I'm showing.
What's the name of the shop?
It is Empire's Comics Vault.
I knew that already. I just wanted you to say it. I knew that already. I wanted you to say it though to anybody watching. So
let's see here. Let's go start over here. We've got, if I can zoom this,
oh yeah, look at that.
Wall of comics.
Are those all the new books?
Stretching around.
Look at that.
Those are all new. Those are all current books. Yes.
Wow.
And I will show you one thing real quick. And I kid you not, I didn't do this just because you're here. I opened the store in 2003, and I had seen a solicitation from Diamond that said something about the Pro and reorder it. So I got a couple copies. And it has never, ever left my shelf since.
There you go.
It's up with the new stuff because when somebody's looking for something ridiculous, I put that in their hands and it always sells.
Well, you know, you're one of the few retailers that constantly orders it. Like a lot of people keep thinking it's out of print. I keep telling them, no, just order it from Image. It's constantly reordered. You can reorder it anytime. Yeah, you
can get it anytime. And then here's I got it closed down a little bit because it's hot here today, but we've got our art wall.
Nice.
And it's all local artists. Got our little kids section over here. And there's our wall of trades.
Nice.
stretching
Beautiful
down.
store.
You can show my hot sauce.
Thank you very much. Oh, and then one more unique thing I'll show you real
Okay.
quick. Well, one, we got a couple of
Ouch.
pugs running around here.
Oh, look at that. Oh, he's so cute.
And then up here, we have
Yeah.
got.
Oh,
we
look
are
at the
also
hot sauce. So do you,
Yeah,
He's the best
I don't
hot
make
sauce
it.
vendor in
I
Northern
absolutely-
California.
so you sell
Yeah,
the
I
hot sauce
actually-
with the comics?
yes, I love hot sauce, but everywhere you go in town, you find the same 3 brands.
Right.
So
right.
we just decided to start bringing it in, and now we've got a whole clientele that doesn't even read comics, and we've got a bunch of comic readers who are now really into hot sauce. So it's worked out really well.
That's wild. And the couches are there all the time?
Yeah, we have 2 lounges. We've got one back by the art gallery, and then we've got a lounge right here. And there's we're watching you on our giant TV, and we'll have music playing or movies, and
That's great.
people can get there. Yeah, and we've got so much room. We do things like we've done, we do comedy nights, we do movie nights, we've had concerts, just a ton of live models, just a ton of stuff.
And how did you guys survive during COVID? How did you handle that stuff?
So we're at net here, we were closed for 3 months. Like we couldn't even do curbside.
Right.
So I every day, and the beautiful thing is we have such a wonderful local community that all I did was take phone calls and ship stuff to people. So
Oh,
that
that's great.
actually got us through COVID. I think I might have been the only place in this entire complex that paid rent. And from there we slowly adjusted and
Right.
fixed things, because we came back, of course we couldn't do as much. We had restrictions that kept coming on, coming off.
Yeah.
And so we had our first really big in-store event for the first time in 2.5 years, just last Saturday. So
Wow.
fingers
Wow.
crossed, we're heading in the right direction.
Did you find we gained a lot of readers in comics during COVID?
We did. In fact, we had a lot of people who, of course, were stuck at home,
Right.
and which has sparked a ton for the hobby, not just the new stuff, but
Right.
the back, because people had nothing to do but go through their comics.
That's right.
And we've got a big chunk of our readership is kids here, but
Okay.
it's even more now because of COVID, because parents were looking for something for them to do other than watch TV all day.
Well, I think it's smart you put the Pro up on that shelf back there. So that's high, pretty high.
It's literally as far as you can get across the store from the kids section.
It is candy-like in its coloring. So I could see where a kid would be like, oh, give me that,
Oh
but
yeah, no, the cover's fine.
I'll tell you a quick funny story. So in Germany, they released this is couple of years later after we did the book came out. In Germany, they released the book in German. And at a convention in Germany, they took a page from the book. And it was the page where the Pro is thanking the saint, if you know what I mean. He's against the wall and she's right. And they took that and they made a 7-foot cutout with a stairs behind it so people can put their head through it and they could be the saint.
No! Oh no!
Can,
Oh, my
Where
can
is
you
that?
imagine it? Could you imagine if they did that at Comic-Con? How like it would be shut down in 5 minutes? Exactly.
Oh, fantastic. God, I wonder where it's at. Is it sitting in somebody's garage?
I have no idea. All they kept getting is people telling me about it. They were like, "Oh my God, you should have saw what they had." And I said, "Was anybody doing it?" He goes, "There was a line for it." He said, "There was the publisher had the books and they had the cutout where people put their head in it." And I'm like, I would love to do that, but it would be like cops would be arresting me in 5 minutes. It would not be good.
The sad thing is that was before like Instagram and Facebook. So
You know what? There was a
Yeah,
lot. The world was a lot crazier with cameras everywhere. Without cameras everywhere, the world was a lot wilder. With cameras now, you're just like you're being policed by everyone. The world polices
It
you.
was definitely a word of mouth marketing.
Yes,
as I would
yes.
say.
Oh yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Even when Joe Casado and I did Marvel Nights, there wasn't the internet was just coming in. Word of mouth, I got it. Okay. But you know, when we were doing Marvel Nights back in, I think it was 97, 98, computers were just coming into the scene where people had them at home. It was just happening. And you know, before that, I remember for Marvel Nights, we went and did like morning shows. Like we did shows on TV to push the books, like all these different things. The computer just made it so much easier. Now you get social media and you can just pop a page on it, and it also cheapened it in a way too, because now everything's so accessible. There's nothing really special, you know. Everybody sees that same trailer. Everybody watched the Monsters trailer today and was like freaked out. So I don't know if you guys saw it yet. The Rob Zombie, the Rob Zombie movie, the monster, you know, based on the TV show from the 60s.
Yeah,
All I'm telling you is watch it after this and with a straight face. I don't even want to tell you anything. Just watch it after we get off, and your head's gonna go like this.
Is it a real movie or is it a fake trailer?
It is a whole
Is it a real
movie.
trailer?
It's a real trailer. It's a $30 million film.
Oh, so sometimes people make fake trailers. Okay.
No, this is Rob Zombie doing a comedy.
All right.
All I'm saying is you guys all have homework tonight. You have to watch it after we talk. And it's going to be a whole show for you guys next time. Jose
Okay,
is
all
shaking
right.
his head. Did you see it already, Jose, or no? No? Okay. All right.
Sounds great, though. I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Oh, I don't know if "great's" going to be the first word you think of, but it's going to be interesting. Anyway.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us, sir. I
Oh,
appreciate it.
my
We thank
pleasure.
you for your
my
time,
pleasure.
especially because you're on the East Coast. So we're going to have.
I
a
am.
10 o'clock
I
there.
was. My only concern was we have a thunderstorm going on. I don't know if you can hear it because I fixed the mic a little bit. It sounds like somebody's bowling upstairs right now. It's like lightning and doing everything. We have them every day. I'm in Florida, so we have them every day. Like at 4 o'clock on, we have like a thunderstorm and lightning and rain. It is almost every day, and then it clears up, and you know everything's nice and hot. Yes, woof woof woof. How many dogs you have? Two?
Two of them, yeah.
Two. They're adorable. Yeah.
And
All right,
your-
guys.
your
Well, thank
audio
you. Thank you. Look, you know, when the book comes out, be more than happy to come back on and we can discuss it. And Danielle, you can tell me if we screwed it up or not, if we ruined it for you or not.
Don't worry, I'll definitely tell you. I'm not
Okay,
afraid.
well,
I'm
there-
not
there you
afraid.
There you go. I like that.
That 6-page story is going to be in Image's 30th anniversary book? What is that?
Yeah, so I think they have like 2 or 3 came out already. It's like the 64-page Image 30th anniversary books. So they're coming out every month. And I think we have the
Anthology, the monthly anthology.
Yeah, the anthology. Yeah, the anthology. So we're if you look in the new previews, it's in the new previews. So you know you can put that next to the pro book, so you can kind of sell them in one place, right? I don't want to tell you, Joe. You
All
guys-
right, sir. Well, thank you very much. You enjoy your night.
You too.
Looking forward to seeing what you guys have coming out next. So
Thank you, guys.
we'll thank you very much.
All right, take care,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.